Is this poisonous? Should I eat it? No.
It's a perfect example.
Bright colors, don't eat it. All right, eat the dark stuff.
Welcome to the Thoughts on Digital podcast, ideas and insight about the ever-changing world of digital marketing. How's it going? I'm Adam Levine, and today we are talking to Mario Cortes. He is the Quality Assurance Supervisor here at All Things Media. We are discussing some innovative technology that he saw at NRF, the National Retail Federation. How's it going, Mario?
How you doing, Adam? Pretty good.
Very nice. So NRF, you were there, you hung out for a little bit.
Absolutely.
You saw some cool stuff. There was a lot of really new, cool new technology, right?
Yes.
What did you see?
The first company that caught my attention was a company called Lolly.
Okay.
And they're a Google extension company that they have an app that runs through Google extension. You can use Safari, wherever desktop you're actually using, which is pretty cool. What this company, what they provide is they provide access to Bitcoin. So users are able to access cryptocurrency more. So their technology, what they brought up to present to the Innovation Lab was you download their extension and they're affiliated with certain companies, for example, like Adidas, Macy's, Walmart. And if you use their software to actually make a purchase, you get a percentage of their cut. They actually reward you with Bitcoin. So when you download the extension and you create your account, they actually create a virtual wallet for you, which is pretty cool. And whenever you make a purchase, and if they're if they're affiliated with Lolly gets a percentage, and they give you up to 30%, depending on how much you spend on the purchase.
Wow.
Which I thought pretty cool because, for those that actually use cryptocurrency, this is a way to bring it out more to the world where you don't just have to use it for what they say the black market or, big transactions, as they say. They make it more user-friendly.
Yeah.
It's a different form of currency. So you don't only have to rely on cash or banks. You could just use your crypto wallet, which is pretty cool.
They're still paying with cash, but but the main incentive is they get a piece of a Bitcoin.
Yes,
they get to buy into Bitcoin.
Yep.
Did you see a lot of that, or did you see a little bit more of a trend of cryptocurrency? Was how much of that did you kind of see at the Retail Federation?
That's actually a good question because at first it was really difficult for me to find any companies that did anything with cryptocurrency. Sure. For actual open market, they were the only company that I saw that did that or, were providing this type of service. But I did find one other company where they did a private blockchain. Mm-hmm. So, it's not something that you could download or anything, but they worked more with retailers. So they were focusing more on bigger companies to make transactions where the customers could communicate with vendors. Yeah. And they have a secure network throughout the blockchain. So it's a faster method of communication throughout their process, faster method of payment. So they had a structure going on there. At first, I wasn't too familiar with it because I was just familiar with the open source of cryptocurrency with miners, which are the ones who actually run the networks. Yeah. But this one was more of a private. So that was something new that I learned there that I didn't know. Even after doing a lot of extensive research on cryptocurrency in the industry, that was pretty interesting to find out there. It's
a new type of newish technology, but in the grand scheme of things, it's new and a new payment system. So it's going to take some time before it's widely adopted. But it depends, I guess, on where you look online for the articles around it, because it's either some people saying this is silly and pointless or the future of all retail. Absolutely. I think that, those are both, obviously very extreme positions, but I think that in the end, it definitely looks like, this isn't going to go away, and there's going to be some form of this that's going to, find its way into people's lives. Yeah. So I think it's interesting now that we're just starting out, and like you said, like that company like Lolly, to give somebody a piece of that, new currency, really, because you don't have to have had Bitcoin to start. You don't. Exactly. You're just buying something, from a retailer that you would normally buy anyway, and now you've got this incentive to buy into this new currency system. So,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of getting into that.
As big companies start adapting to this, for example, XRP is a huge company who works with financial companies banks and does $1 million in transactions.
Yeah.
But to speak on how much the industry has grown, there's almost $1 trillion being invested in companies.
Wow.
So you could, it's not just small. There's
Right.
big companies, and they're doing huge things. It's providing a faster communication through networks where communication would take minutes or days. You could get in seconds now. So
And you're talking a little bit more towards the bigger picture, which is blockchain technology,
blockchain,
not just Bitcoin, but what it was founded on. The idea of essentially using tons and tons of different computers at the same time to fragment the data.
Exactly.
For faster results.
Faster results.
I don't know enough about blockchain, and I'm not going to pretend to.
It's right on there. It's right on there.
So as long as that's my vague general understanding of it.
It's not just for currency. There's a lot of benefits to it.
I saw Intel was at NRF talking about their use in blockchain.
Oh, they did?
Something with a butterfly and blockchain, which, by the way, as pretty as that might be, that's only more confusing to somebody like me. Because now I'm just thinking, okay, are you using it in nature? Is it tracking butterflies? Wires? Yeah.
Like
So
pretty butterflies.
just yeah. But no, it's really interesting stuff.
I didn't know Intel actually did something with that.
Yeah, there was something with their booth, and
nice.
and I was busy at the time, so I didn't have a chance to check in. So that might be worth checking out what they're doing.
Definitely.
But what else did you see from?
Okay, another cool company that I saw was Google Lens. Google.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure you have.
So what is Google Lens?
So when I first got there to their booth, I saw someone pointing their phones at sneakers.
Okay.
And then I saw another person pointing at a shirt that was on display. The image gets scanned, right? And then a few seconds later, well, like 2 seconds later, you just see information on it. So I couldn't really see what it was describing, so it caught my attention.
Sure.
I was like, all right, scanning stuff. All right, this is pretty cool. You could use this in retail stores when you're shopping, sort prices and see who gives you the best deals. So one of the cool features that it has, it can identify an object. It could tell you details information about the object, like where it was created, what it is. It also could identify building structures, which is cool. So let's say you go to a cathedral and you're like, oh, what's the name of this place? There's no detail in it. You scan it with Google Lens and it'll give you tons of information about it. Another cool feature that I saw, which was pretty impressive, is called Smart Text.
Okay.
So it scans, let's say you have a piece of paper, you go somewhere and you want to save that, but it's forever to type, or you want to look up a definition of a word. Let's say that's a perfect example. You just scan it, you use the Google Lens app, you scan it, and then it'll bring up the information about it.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty impressive.
Wow. All right. So it scans like anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, you've got, it could tell you the difference between like a dog and a cat or
yeah.
specific species.
Exactly, yeah. It can tell you about animals, which is another cool thing.
That's crazy.
So it's like, what kind of dog is this? I want to buy it or something, or just want to know more of it. Boom, you scan the dog and
wow,
it'll give you a description of the dog.
All right, well, that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And it also gives you buying options, too. So let's say I was searching for a used pair of sneakers that my friend wanted to sell me, and I didn't know if it was a good price or not. So I scanned it with the Google Lens, and it was like, bling, told me everything about the sneaker, how many they made, and, where I could buy it from and the different prices, and I was able to actually make a good deal based on that, compared to you go somewhere and someone tells you, selling you something that's overpriced, you don't know.
You have no idea, yeah.
You can scan the item now, there's advantage to it.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I thought it was pretty impressive.
Very cool. Anything else did you?
Have you used Google Lens before yet?
I've never used it, no.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sounds incredibly impressive. Just the idea to be able to scan anything. It sounds like it's almost anything. You know? I mean, I'm sure there's a limitation, but
yeah, I'll tell you some of the limitations that I've learned from it. Like, depending on the angle and lighting, it might give you reference to that similar items.
Okay.
Because other sneakers that I've had, using sneakers for example, other sneakers that I had, I scanned it and it didn't pick it up. It showed similar ones, but it wasn't accurate until I started, capturing it at different angles.
Yeah.
When I positioned it to where it was like a good shot of it, where it was clear, it was like good lighting, I was able to picture the item. So
I mean, that's really just a limitation of the technology's, like, the camera's ability to see something.
Exactly.
That's not even a limitation that I was expecting of, like, well, it knows a lot of stuff, but it doesn't know what that snail is.
I
Is
haven't
there
experienced that as of yet.
Yeah, because you've been scanning a lot of snails, and you haven't had any problems.
Snakes,
immediately identifying all of the wildlife.
Haven't done that yet. I'll do that if I go on vacation.
You should definitely do that.
Is this poisonous? Should I eat it? No.
It's a perfect example.
It's bright colors, don't eat it. All right, eat the dark stuff. I've learned that.
It's just good advice.
Yeah, good protein.
So speaking of scanning things in general, I know there was something else that you were talking about before the show. Scanning things with RFID tags.
Yes.
And why don't you tell me a little bit more about that? What was that technology?
Yeah. So there was a company called Blue Byte.
Okay.
And what caught my attention was the Adidas brand and the sneakers and stuff. So I was passing by the booth, and I see another person just scanning a sneaker, which I didn't see anything on the sneaker that was scannable. So it caught my attention. So I went up to the gentleman, and I started talking to him, and he was telling me that they have an RFID tag that they actually apply to the tongue of the sneaker, which I thought was pretty cool. And NFC device too, so which is pretty cool. What caught my attention about that was, when he was explaining to me, at first I was like, well, what's the point of this? But when he started explaining to me, it started making more sense. So it could tell you about that item. So if you scan the item, it picks it up. It could tell you, how many they made, who made it. It'll tell you details of the
product
item.
information.
Exactly. Another cool thing is to counterfeit.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So they had two examples. They had an Adidas pair of sneakers there, and they also had a soccer ball. So he was explaining to me that one out of every soccer ball that's out in the market is counterfeit. These companies are losing a lot of money. So let's say, they make 20,000 soccer balls, but they're only selling 10 because another 10 is being purchased by counterfeit from other companies.
Sure.
They're losing a lot of money. And the materials, so there's a lot that possibly could go in depending on how good the counterfeit is. But he was explaining to me, like, even in the soccer ball itself, you could scan it, and it will tell you details about the soccer ball, how many they were made, and if it's authentic or not. The cool part of it is that you couldn't even see in the scanning system itself. It was built inside. And he was explaining to me they were pressure tested. They did a lot of research behind the actual item itself to see if it was durable and would it still be useful.
Sure, you put it in a soccer ball, it's going to obviously be kicked around.
Yeah,
so you want to make sure it's durable.
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting technology. Especially just being able to figure out whether something's counterfeit. Really, I guess in the long run, it does help those companies because it is very dependent on the consumer to care, right? Yes. Whether it is or isn't, right?
If they're getting a quality item, is that
right? Especially if they're paying for a premium item, they might, at that point, that's when they would care.
Yes.
And this way, if it's counterfeit, I would imagine they could return it and make sure that the money doesn't go to that counterfeit company. Because ultimately, if like you said, the example is, they say they made 10,000, 20,000 units, and they're only selling 10 because 50% of them are going to this counterfeit, companies. Yeah. The only way that they, this kind of device helps that main company is if those people who get that go ahead and, care enough to see whether or not what they bought is authentic, and then return it and go get the real one. Yeah. Right. Which I'm sure, there's people out there who care, especially like you said, when it's a premium object or a premium product that you're getting, you want to make sure that it's the real deal, because you're paying money for that. Otherwise you would pay less for a knockoff if you didn't care. So yeah, I'd be curious to see what kind of metrics once a company puts that out there and puts it into place. I'd be curious to see what kind of metrics come back, whether or not it was successful to counter the counterfeits, like you said.
Yeah. Another good example where that could be used is, like, let's say a smaller retail store, not the actual brand itself. Like, let's say Adidas store, or you could go to, like, let's say a smaller store in your local town, right? They sell this type of clothing, and that companies lose money throughout these smaller companies because they're instead of purchasing from them, they're purchasing from these counterfeiters, and they
don't even know themselves that they're getting counterfeit merchandise.
Because them as retailers, they're looking for the best deal. So it's like you got a guy that meets all the requirements, but you don't know he's actually selling you.
Right. Now you can go in and maybe sample the merchandise beforehand, check it out, use this app, scan the thing.
Exactly, which I thought was pretty impressive. there are a lot of counterfeits out there.
Yeah.
And it's a huge market. Like they're even counterfeiting, Colgate toothpaste and
Well,
Tide
that's
soap,
where things
like,
get real dangerous,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
you start to use like, when you're counterfeiting a soccer ball and you've got just like, okay, the material's not that good, it's just not going to last.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That doesn't affect you physically. That's not your health. When you've got counterfeit toothpaste and they're using ingredients that are just not legit or not good for you because they're cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's danger.
Which
That's
actually
dangerous.
goes on nowadays. Which
That's
is
horrible.
Really crazy.
Yeah, so I can see that I guess is a really good example of a benefit to the consumer.
this.
Whether it's you who's checking it out or it's the company that's buying it from
Resell it.
from the wholesaler.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this type of tech, this type of industry, especially like selling things on the side. So let's say you go purchase stuff on eBay, you purchase stuff on Amazon, because even Amazon, there's people that get, sometimes they get non-authentic items, or even Facebook. Like they're becoming more and more popular each day, especially with technology. Everyone has a handheld, so they're constantly buying things online, if it's from the stores or used in general. And this is just a good way to help people, be more reassured that they actually purchase something that's legit and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about it.
Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, and all right.
Hope you guys learned something.
Definitely. Take care. Ideas always go further when they're shared. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a review on iTunes or drop us a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think about today's topic. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next week.